Our next guest just wrapped up his panel here at Consensus 2025 called The Next Evolution of RWAs, Usability, Utility, and Adoption. Stellar Development Foundation's Chief Business Officer, Raja Chakravorti, joins me now. Raja, Stellar sees $3 billion worth of real-world assets coming on chain. How is Stellar going to seize that opportunity?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey for us. I think when you look at it from the outside, the growth has been really tremendous in many ways. So if I think about stablecoin growth overall, we've seen, I think, the total number of stablecoins that are in circulation today at about 240 billion, give or take. But what we've seen that's really exciting is the actual movement of those assets. So stablecoins have transacted, I think it was $27 trillion of volume last year, which is more than the combined value of both Visa and MasterCard, which is phenomenal to think about. 27 billion, sorry. And which is phenomenal to think about because it actually means that there is a lot of use case for this. And at Stellar, one of the things we are really proud of is our work in helping facilitate kind of this global commerce mechanism. And that's been really exciting. But beyond that, and something that's been really prevalent at this conference has been talk about real-world assets. And for us, asset tokenization is really that next level in a really foundational way. The first assets that were tokenized were dollar-backed, kind of dollars and digital dollars. But we've now started to see this mass proliferation of focus on tokenizing other financial assets like money market funds and a lot of interest in incremental assets. And so we really are focusing on building those, but not just to tokenize them for tokenization's sake, but to actually solve real problems.
Tell me about the institutions that are choosing to go and work with Stellar with these real-world assets. What kind of qualities are they looking for, and what would be an appropriate fit?
Definitely. I mean, I always like to think about one of the first use cases we had. So many of us are familiar with Franklin Templeton, and so what Franklin Templeton did was they saw a couple years ago this opportunity to tokenize their FOBXX money market fund, and they issued the Benji token. And I think what was really interesting about tokenizing a money market fund is this idea about accessibility. So if you wanted to invest in a money market fund, the average kind of entry point to that, it's like $3,000 to invest in it. But by tokenizing it, the entry point is $25. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means, first off, you've actually dramatically expanded the TAM, or the target addressable market, of people who can invest in that asset. That's great because it is of business value for Franklin Templeton, but it's great accessibility for consumers who are looking for these types of assets but may not have been able to invest in them. But there's also this massive efficiency play that happens with Franklin Templeton because, man, like, you remember the days of hand reconciliation and spreadsheets and fat fingering different numbers and all of these different issues. And so you're seeing this massive efficiency gain. And I think that's one of the things that's been really exciting for institutions to think about why they should tokenize something and what type of impact that can offer. And one of the things I am always really excited about is anytime consumers can get access to a financial asset that gives them more value, boy, we're really starting to get to something that's going to create, I think, long-term value.
It does really seem like Benji kind of catalyzed a lot of the real world asset adoption that we saw in the last, say, 12 to 18 months. Yeah. So looking ahead, is there anything on the horizon that you can share about other experiments in that realm that you guys are working on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been fortunate again. We built a blockchain that was really designed with asset control features in mind. So the ability to issue assets, but also have asset controls like freeze and clawbacks. These are really important for institutions. And institutions like WisdomTree, for example, launched their WisdomTree Prime funds, which were 13 different funds on Stellar, but now have expanded to WisdomTree Connect, which moves it from retail to wholesale. And so you're seeing all of these opportunities that are really built for broader access. And again, I think it comes back to this idea of institutions are really interested in what tokenization means for them. But again, why would you go ahead and tokenize, an antique automobile, for example? That's not really creating value. But where you are creating value is looking at things that have a lot of value, like real estate, like private credit, like private equity, but haven't really before had that liquidity. But now you can have that liquidity because there's a demand for those products to deliver this kind of new yield. And that's incredibly exciting, and we're here to facilitate all of those opportunities.
Over at Stellar, you're also known for last mile disbursements. What can you tell us about what's happening in that area?
Well, last mile is, I think, one of our favorite topics to talk about because in our mind, like, when I think about the blockchain, look, I don't come from the blockchain world. I'm not a native crypto person. I come from traditional finance. I worked in structured finance. I worked in mortgage-backed securities all through the 2000s. I worked in payments and fintech. And ultimately, it comes down to, like, what is the actual usability? And so crypto and innovation for crypto's sake is less meaningful for me if you can't actually put money into the system, and more importantly, take it out of the system, right? So a lot of our focus is how we've partnered with last mile ramps, like MoneyGram, for example. So MoneyGram is a significant partner of ours where they have 450,000 global physical locations across 150 countries. What makes that really valuable is imagine somebody in Kenya who is getting a remittance from a family member in the United States, and they get that in a digital dollar form. Well, do they need to know a lot about blockchain? I don't really think that's what they care about. They want to be able to get access to a US-based dollar, but then they want to be able to cash that out. And what the MoneyGram partnership allows us to do is actually have that person go into the location and then turn it into fiat that they're then able to go transact at a local merchant. And so those are really important aspects to this, and I think that's how you really connect it back to the real world, which is what this really should be about.
Raja, so interesting. Thank you so much for joining us. We got to end it there.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was Stellar Development Foundation Chief Business Officer, Raja Chakravorti.